Hare Krishna. I write only when inspiration strikes. Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp. Somerset Maugham. Writers and all creative people in general rely on inspiration. When they feel inspired, they can write a lot. And when they don't feel inspired, they just can't do anything. They sit in front of a paper or in front of a computer screen and nothing comes out. What applies especially for people engaged in creative activity also applies for all of us. Sometimes we feel inspired to do certain things, and sometimes we just feel no inspiration. We feel, why bother doing anything? I just don't feel like doing anything. So, the difference between an amateur writer, a dilettante, and a serious writer, a professional writer, a committed writer, is not that the committed writer gets more inspiration than the amateur writer. It may be. But more important is that when the committed writer does not get inspiration, the committed writer does not just keep waiting for inspiration to come. The committed writer keeps writing, keeps doing the activity, and by doing the activity, by the dedication to the writing, inspiration comes. So sometimes we think of inspiration as something which just comes of its own accord. And yes, it is true that there are times when a riveting, electrifying current of insight and energy permeates our entire being and inspires us to do things, to shake things up, to come up with brilliant ideas, to do prolific amounts of work. But it is also a fact that if we base our life on inspiration, we will not achieve much. Because inspiration at one level is fickle. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't come. So, for a life of productivity, for a life of quality, for a serious life, we can't depend only on inspiration. We need dedication. And paradoxically enough, dedication also invokes inspiration. So here Somerset Maugham says that he was asked, do you write as per schedule or do you write when inspiration strikes? He says, I write only when inspiration strikes, but fortunately it strikes every morning at 9 a.m. Now anyone who has worked with inspiration knows that inspiration doesn't work like that. It doesn't come punctually on time. The point is making is, I write and my dedication is my inspiration. Inspiration is not a punctual partner. It does not stick to a schedule. But that does not mean we can't stick to a schedule. And what will enable us to stick to a schedule is our dedication. So, that dedication, it also requires inspiration. No, that requires conviction. If we have deeply internalized, contemplated and assimilated that something is important for me, then I will do it whether I feel like it or not. So the difference between a inspiration centered ethos of working and a dedication centered ethos of working is that in the inspiration centered ethos, feelings come first, actions come later. When I feel like doing it, I will do it. So these people, they feel their way to actions. But dedication centered ethos means they act, people with this ethos act their way to their feelings. That means just by doing something, even when they don't feel like doing it, they get the taste for it. They start doing it, and gradually the zeal, the taste starts coming. The Bhagavad Gita talks about this principle in its 18th chapter. In the 37th verse, it talks about how refined joys, higher elevated joys in life, they taste like poison in the beginning, but then they taste like nectar in the end. That means there is a layer of negativity, of discomfort, of even distress that one has to penetrate through the initial layer of poison till one can get to the layer of fulfillment, of satisfaction, of achievement, of inspiration. So dedication is what will enable us to penetrate through the initial poison and come to the subsequent excitement, energy, inspiration. So this principle applies to all aspects of life, including our inner growth. When we wish to study scripture, we study books of spiritual wisdom, such as the Bhagavad Gita, when we want to meditate, go inwards, all these things will taste like poison in the beginning. They will not taste good. But if we persevere, no matter what happens, we persevere, then by that perseverance, that perseverance will come from dedication. If we make a commitment, at this time, I am going to do this, whether I feel like it or I don't feel like it. That commitment will push us through, and that commitment is a sign of our seriousness. So gradually, as we develop an ethos of discipline, of dedication, then the hostile feelings within us, the lack of inspiration, that will decrease, and we will be able to move forward with greater consistency, with greater inspiration. Only when we persevere in the absence of inspiration will we be able to profit fully in the presence of inspiration. Because when inspiration comes, we will be able to catch it fully if we are alert, if we are dedicated, if we are committed. And in fact, the more we persevere in the absence of inspiration, the more we learn to penetrate the initial layer of poison, the more that layer of poison will become thinner and thinner. And the more inspiration will become a easily accessible, easily invocable, easily repeatable, and eventually a constantly present reality. So rather than living by an inspiration-centered ethos, we can live and work by a dedication-centered ethos, and inspiration will gradually start coming on time, more and more. Thank you. Hare Krishna.